This is Sky News at 1. Our headlines this lunchtime. Ministers describe a leaked report about the economic impact of Brexit as a selective interpretation of the study.
Police hunting for a violent burglar suspected to be a soldier, so they can't access the Ministry of Defence DNA database.
The Metropolitan Police and Crown Prosecution Service apologises to 22-year-old Liam Allen after a review found mistakes were made over a collapsed rape case against him.
And a funeral is held today for England international footballer Cyrille Regis, who died aged 59.
Hello there, good afternoon. The Brexit Minister has rejected details of a leaked report about the negative economic impact of Brexit, saying it provides a selective interpretation of the research.
Steve Baker was answering an urgent question from Labour's shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer in the last hour. And the leaked Whitehall report found there was no scenario under which Britain would be better off after Brexit.
Let's go straight to Westminster. Our political correspondent Tom Rayner is there. Tom, it was quite interesting listening to what Steve Baker had to say in those exchanges. Sometimes his boss, David Davis, has been accused of not being combative enough and making the case for Brexit. Well, Steve Baker didn't hold back, did he?
He didn't. It was certainly combative and it's still going on, Colin. But let me questions to go in the course of the next hour, Colin.
Thanks, Tom.
Now, police hunting for a violent burglar who's raided a string of multi-million-pound homes across south-east England. So they've been denied access to a Ministry of Defence DNA database, even though officers believe the suspect is a soldier.
Well, the suspect uses extreme violence and officers fear that ultimately he may kill someone. Well, Susan Morris suffered a broken jaw and lost a tooth when the man attacked her in her home.
At 19:30, I guess it would have been, I heard an extremely loud voice to wait in the garden for Stephen.
Incredibly brave account there from one of the victims. Let's go live now to central London, where we can speak to our crime correspondent Martin Brunt. And Martin, the police trying to build up a picture, but it's very rare they've got such a detailed outline of who they believe is responsible.
Yes, I mean, in some ways they do have a compelling picture in their minds of who this man is. But in terms of firm evidence, I mean, that's the stumbling block. They have a bit of DNA from one of those 7 burglaries, but they can't match it with anybody who's been convicted. So the theory is that this is somebody who was once in the military, soldier, sailor, marine, something like that. But it is just a theory. They've asked the Ministry of Defence if they can take the bit of DNA they have and match it or test it against the DNA database that's held by the Ministry of Defence. Typically soldiers who go abroad on missions give their DNA for obvious reasons, if they die and their bodies need to be recognised, or if they're kidnapped and so forth. So there is this DNA database that exists within the MOD, but the MOD stance is that unless the police have firm evidence or proof that the man they're looking for is ex-military, they won't share that database. They won't give the police access to the database. They say it's covered by data protection. So the police need to get that firm evidence or proof that the man they're looking for is a soldier. Until they do that, they won't be able to check that MOD database. They have checked it against the police database of serving police officers because that's much more readily available to them. But that's drawn a blank. So they do know at least that the man they're looking for is not a serving police officer, but he could be a former police officer for which there is no DNA record.
OK, Martin, thank you.
Now, police and prosecutors have apologised to a student wrongly accused of rape over their failure to disclose evidence related to his case.
Liam Allen was charged with 12 counts of rape and sexual assault, but his trial collapsed after police were ordered to hand over important phone records. Mr Allen has told Sky News that he accepts the apology, but fears there are still lessons to be learned from his handling of the case.
It's a good way of sort of showing remorse, which is sort of what we've been looking for the whole time. So.
Continuance of his case at such a very late stage.
The Court of Appeals has ruled that the government's surveillance regime to be unlawful. The court said that by collection, the nation's internet activity and phone records, the government was breaking the law. Well, the challenge was brought by MP Tom Watson, who was being represented by civil liberties organisation Liberty. Well, joining us now from central London is our technology correspondent Tom Cheshire. Good afternoon to you, Tom. Tell us the latest, tell us more.
Well, this refers to a law called the Data Retention Investigatory Powers Act, which was introduced in 2014. As you say, it's all about the mass collection of all sorts of records, emails, phone records, hoovering it all up to look through that to try and find evidence to fight terrorism, to fight serious crime. And as you said, some people thought, well, this wasn't necessarily the best idea. And Tom Watson, MP, and David Davis, actually, is it still unlawful in terms of looking into people's emails and things like that?
OK, Tom, thank you. Well, let's take a look at some of the day's other news now. And the BBC says they found no evidence of gender bias in pay decision-making after conducting a review into on-air salaries. But in a statement, they said they'd identified a number of issues and anomalies that needed addressing. The review was carried out by PwC after more than 150 women working at the broadcaster complained about their treatment.
Calls for a comprehensive study into the impact of vaginal mesh implants have been answered by the government. It's set to launch a full retrospective audit of all women who've had the surgery since 2005. The audit aims to help the NHS understand the complications related to that procedure.
Catalonia has postponed the election of a new regional president until further notice after Spain's highest court said the sole nominee, separatist leader Carlos Puigdemont, was ineligible while he remains in Belgium. Puigdemont has been in self-imposed exile in Belgium since October and is likely to be arrested if he returns to Spain for leading what authorities say was a legal independence bid. Catalan's parliament speaker said while the session was postponed, it was in no way cancelled and another candidate will not be presented.
To do, and I would simply say to my colleagues, calm down now and let's just do what the British people want us to do.
Ian Duncan-Smith, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Now, family and friends and teammates have all been paying tribute to the former England and West Brom striker Cyrille Regis, who died this month at the age of 59. A celebration ceremony has been held at the Hawthorns, which took place after a private funeral with his family. Well, Tom Parmenter has been at that ceremony in West Bromwich. Very good afternoon to you, Tom. He was in many ways a trailblazer. What has the atmosphere been like there today?
Inevitably a very moving day. We saw the cortege outside the ground, many supporters, hundreds of supporters, seeing off one of their heroes from Wolves, that he warranted a place at the top table of English football. He only ever won 5 England caps, quite surprisingly, but he was remembered here today as one of the great, most influential sportsmen of the 20th century. OK, Tom, thank you.
We've got some sentencing from Manchester Crown Court. This is the story of Chris Parker. You may remember he was the homeless man, initially hailed as a hero. He turned out to be anything but. Let's turn to Nick Martin, who's at Manchester Crown Court with the latest on this. He's got a hefty prison sentence, hasn't he, Nick?
Yes, he has. Now, this was a man who, on the face of it, had done great things on the night of the Manchester bomb, aftermath of the Manchester bomb.
Thank you, Nick.
It's time now to cross over to the Sky Sports News studio for an update from there.
This programme is brought to you by Vitality Health and Life Insurance. Getting active brings its own rewards.
Nice hat. Is that what you call a boater?
Thanks, good afternoon. It's the penultimate day of the January transfer window
And that's a wrap. Marvellous. Who's sorting out these extras?
Here with Sky News coming up, why a comprehensive study's been launched into the impact of vaginal mesh implants.
This is Sky News at midday. The top stories this hour. The Brexit Minister has rejected details of a leaked report about the negative economic impact of Brexit, saying it provided a selective interpretation of the research.
Chris Parker, a homeless man who stole from victims of the Manchester Arena bombing, has been jailed for 4 years and 3 months. We'll bring the latest on that story very shortly.
Police and prosecutors have apologised to a student wrongly accused of rape over their failure to disclose evidence related to his case. The case against Liam Allen collapsed after police were ordered to hand over important phone records.
Now, calls for a comprehensive study into the impact of vaginal mesh implants have been answered by the government.
Yes, it's now to launch a full retrospective audit of all women who've had the surgery since 2005. Sky's Charlotte Lomas has this exclusive report.
Julie Gilsenan is a paramedic used to saving lives on the front line. It's hoped they will now be aware of the true risk they face. Charlotte Lomas, Sky News.
Police hunting for a violent burglar who's raided a string of multi-million-pound homes across south-east England say they've been denied access to a Ministry of Defence DNA database, even though officers believe the suspect is a serving or former soldier.
The suspect uses extreme violence and officers fear he may kill someone. Sky's crime correspondent Martin Brunt has this report.
This is the violent burglar police are desperate to catch. One man was arrested, but he was later ruled out. Martin Brunt, Sky News, at Surrey Police Headquarters.
Police and prosecutors have apologised to a student wrongly accused of rape over their failure to disclose evidence related to his case.
This is Liam Allen. He was charged with 12 counts of rape and sexual assault, but his trial collapsed after police were ordered to hand over important phone records. Mr Allen told Sky News he accepts the apology, fears there are still lessons to be learned from the handling of his case.
It's a good way of sort of showing a remorse, which is sort of what we've been looking for the whole.
We will be outside those institutions. This is about the future of our economy and what's best for Britain.
Hilary Benn, thanks very much.
Thank you.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up, what can we expect from Donald Trump's first State of the Union address? We'll have more on that coming up after the break.
Immigration is expected to be the focus in Donald Trump's first State of the Union address tonight.
The president wants Congress to commit almost $1 billion to infrastructure spending to implement new measures to stop immigration from Mexico. The Sky's US correspondent Greg Milam has this report.
The city of Tucson in Arizona used to be part of Mexico. Greg Milam, Sky News, Tucson in Arizona.
And we'll have a special programme of President Trump's State of the Union address live from Washington tomorrow morning. That's at 1 a.m. if you stay up that early.
Coming up on Sky News, the government hits back after leaked Brexit reports suggest the UK will be worse off after leaving the EU.